Hello, lovely fam. I hope you're all doing great. I know it's been a while since I last posted, but from now on, I'll be more consistent with uploads. And let's start with our first story, titled, I, 39 female, cheated on my husband, 41 male. What should I do to get him back? I cheated on my husband with a coworker, but I must give you more context about my current situation. My affair began in mid-2019 and was discovered in the first days of January 20th. I've been married to my husband for more than 17 years. We were high school sweethearts who everyone, without exception, knew would end up together. During our marriage, we had 3 daughters, my oldest daughter who is in college, and 2 twins who were in their teens. As the title says, I cheated on my husband, the most tender, kind, responsible, and loving man that could exist in the world. Why did I do it? I still don't have an answer to that question. What did I hope to achieve? I still don't know. My husband was a man who always put my needs before his own. Our bedroom was in full bloom. He is an attractive man. He is fit, and he is a dedicated father. To his princesses, as he himself calls them, before I was the queen of his home, the queen who had granted him 3 princesses, but now I am just she, just a woman who lives with him. My adventure began with a simple flirtation, and in September it became physical. From September until the first days of January, until my husband found out, the great love of my life, crying. And only when I saw that pain on his face, an expression of disbelief, sadness, and anger, only then did I realize the consequences of my actions. I went several weeks without communication. When my daughters asked about their father out of embarrassment, I told them that their father had a last-minute business trip. I know I'm a coward for lying to my daughters. After countless attempts to contact him, he answered my calls, asked me to please send our daughters to my parents and take some time alone for the both of us. So I did. One fateful Friday, January 24th, a conversation took place that would set us adrift. The first thing I did when I saw him enter the room was kneel at his feet and ask him to please forgive me, and we are stronger than any mistake I have made. I begged him, humiliated myself, anything so he could see past my actions. The only response to my pleas, you shouldn't humiliate yourself. There was no further response, and it helped me compose myself. We talked about our relationship. We talked for hours, and as more time passed, I got the idea that we could get over it. But my perception of reality was further away than reality itself. He told me that during this time separated, he was actively looking for a divorce lawyer, and everyone I consulted gave the same answer. In our city, they recognize the woman as the family unit. Therefore, if we divorce, he would have to give me the house. The only time he would have to spend time with our daughters would be on the weekends. In addition to the spousal and alimony for our children, and added to the other thing, is that our city is recognized as without fault. Therefore, it benefits the one who wants to destroy the family. When he said that, I couldn't help but cry hysterically and ask him for a chance to make amends. But he told me that even if we don't get divorced, our marriage is over. He has no intention of giving up his house, his family, and his finances for a unfaithful hoe. I'm going to be honest, that last part hurt me, beyond any physical pain. It was the first time in many years of marriage that my husband insulted and disowned me. COVID-19 came, and that entire year was unbearable. We slept in separate rooms. The only contact between us was about restocking the pantry, taking out the trash, or any need our daughters had. Beyond that, there was nothing to discuss. The year 2022 improved, but only in appearances. We slept together again, and so to speak. But only to keep up appearances. He doesn't kiss me, he doesn't touch me, and we have been intimate. But he makes it clear to me, when we finish, that it's just for his needs, and don't get my hopes up. We have reached normality. Now we can talk about more things, but there is still that invisible wall that has been built between us. We attend both individual and couples therapy, but we always end up at the same point. Can we have a loving marriage again? Can we love each other again like before? What to do? How to overcome this? How did other couples overcome infidelity? I doubt you'll ever get your old marriage back. Still, you don't want to admit why you cheated. It looks like you lost respect for your husband over time and took him for granted. In fact, your affair only ended because he found out. You didn't care about him until then. If you love him like you say, then give him a fair divorce and custody of the kids, no alimony, no assets. And let's go to the update. First, I want to thank all those who sent me positive private messages with advice and experiences about infidelity. Each of the experiences read were more terrible than the other due to the damage caused to the betrayed spouse. These experiences made me realize once again the weight of my past actions, rethinking the damage I caused to my husband. As many advised, I decided to contact a lawyer and draft an agreement so that in the event we divorce, he can keep most of the assets he has acquired over the years during our marriage. Of course, this action caught him off guard. At first, he was doubtful about the reliability of the contract, even contacting a lawyer to review the veracity of the document. The second step I followed is how I voluntarily performed a DNA test on our daughters to remove any doubts about paternity that he had about them. As a third point, we were finally able to talk about ourselves. It was a very emotional talk on the part of both of us, where I made clear the position that if he wants to separate from me, I am willing to accept the divorce. During all these years, I flatly denied even thinking about the possibility of divorcing my husband. I used the relationship I have with my daughters to my advantage and practically made him a prisoner in our own marriage. We agreed to a separation of several months with the following conditions. First, we are not even allowed to interact with others during this period of separation. For my part, I made it clear to him that if he wanted to meet other women during this process, he could do so, but he should tell me beforehand. This suggestion came from me more out of my own due guilt and shame to my past actions. Second, seek individual and couples advice to see if we have the opportunity to start over in our marriage. We are not in the process of restoration. Due to my selfishness, I alone and without anyone's help destroyed my marriage. We found an excellent counselor who in turn recommended us to another couples counselor who in my opinion is also excellent. We were able to talk about everything, and that made us see the damage we had caused to each other. I was able to know my husband's wounded heart, how this affected his confidence and his way of seeing life in general. On the other hand, I developed self-destructive tendencies. For example, if my husband was in a bad mood one day, he would immediately blame me for anything that bothered him. I would respond to any request he had because in my head that was fine because I had to compensate them for all the damage I had done as a result of my infidelity. For now, we continue like this. It has been a few months of reconnecting. Not as a couple, but as friends. Start dating without commitment, but being attentive parents to our daughters. My individual counselor encouraged me to vent and also encouraged me to write a diary and give it to my husband with each of my thoughts of how I saw our married life, my thoughts before, during, and after the adventure. What a change in me compared to the beginning of the adventure and after being caught and thus ending my adventure. Due to these actions, my husband developed tendencies towards BDSM, and from there, I developed self-destructive tendencies. If we were having sex, there would be verbal and physical abuse on his part, and since I felt guilty, I decided to accept his anger. We have a lot to work on and more days ahead. They will be easy or difficult, but it is up to us to prevail together as a team or face them alone. I hope that never comes. This is what has happened in these 4 months since my publication. OP, it's commendable that you're trying to atone for your sins. But before complaining that he doesn't respect you, remember, you brought this upon yourself, you broke him. Don't try to gain sympathy points. And next, the second story. Title of this story is, My Beloved Wife Cheated on Me and My Daughter Isn't Mine. How can I move forward as well as shake angry feelings? This is going to be a long one. My wife and I were married for 21 years. I figured it was one of those miracle marriages because we barely argued. Seemed always the best of friends. Well, our 15-year-old daughter received a 23andMe thing for her birthday from a friend, and of course it said we weren't related. She had me do a swab as well as her mother and her 14-year-old brother. Only her brother and I seemed to be related. So I did a paternity test afterwards and lo, and behold, she wasn't my effing child. My ex-wife cried and pleaded for me to hear her out, but I just went numb to her. It would be one thing to cheat, but to find out the light of my life isn't even related to me killed me. Don't get me wrong, I love my daughter with all of my heart. She's still my daughter no matter what. But what's scaring me most is my seemingly vindictive desires. I've never been like this, and I know it's out of anger, but I want her to suffer so bad. The kids absolutely hate her, which on one end helps that desire. But I know that deep down she is still their mother, and I don't really want them to hate her. Her parents and siblings all are mortified at her. Her sister hasn't spoken to her in a couple months. We all grew up together, so it hit hard for everyone. Again, this makes me feel great, which in turn scares me. Because I don't actually want her life to go into shambles, but I can't help feeling euphoric when I learn something in her life is falling apart. Both children are living with me, as they don't view their mother in a favorable light at all right now. I'm thinking about having the talk about them going to talk to her, because as of now, they refuse. The part that breaks my heart the most is that my daughter seems to be overcompensating her role as a daughter. She makes sure to tell me how much she loves me and is, in essence, being the perfect daughter. But I can tell it's because she knows that she isn't biologically mine, but she desperately wants me to know how much she values me. I'm actually going to talk to her tonight about that, to tell her that she doesn't have to act differently. I just really want to know how to shake the sadness and angry, vindictive feelings. I want to move forward as well as help my children move forward so they can worry about school and being teens. Please, any advice will help. TLDR. Wife of 21 years cheated on me and my 15-year-old daughter isn't mine. I've been having sadistic, vindictive feelings towards her, and I want to put those away as well as help my children move past it as well. That's messed up. This is the reason why DNA tests should be mandatory. OP thought he was in a happy marriage. Meanwhile, his wife was getting railed by Chad and Tyrone. Can never trust them 100%. And now to the update. For some clarification, we did talk about it. I just didn't want to write that part out because it physically makes me shake with anger to talk about it. My daughter and I are both in therapy. I am taking the advice of my therapist and the many commenters on my last post, and am not going to force my kids to talk to their mother. They are old enough to understand the gravity of the situation and have their own feelings about it. Because of this, they will need to take their own time gathering up how they feel and dealing with it, with any help they need from me, of course. The pain my daughter is going through seems to have healed somewhat. I've gotten her to fully believe that my love for her will never change and that she will always be my daughter. Her pain seems not to be about our relationship anymore, but her newly found trust issues and trauma from the family being broken apart. She's also confided in me that she feels like it's all her fault, and that if she never brought the kit home, the family would still be together. I hugged her and let her know that none of this was her fault, and that she was only looking to do something fun with the family. She had no idea what would happen, and that she should never blame herself. I've had one conversation with my soon-to-be ex-wife, in which she begged and pleaded with me to forgive her, and that she would cherish me for the rest of her life. She said it was stupid, it meant nothing, and that she regrets it 100%. She also said that she believes our love can withstand it. I told her that if our love was that strong, she wouldn't have felt the need to find sexual comfort in someone else. She is currently staying with her parents. I've communicated with her sister, and apparently she's borderline suicidal. They are trying to get her help, but she refuses, as the only thing she wants to do is see me and the children. Because of this, I'm waiting to serve her the divorce papers. I don't want to add on any more things to destroy her mental health. I've brought up talking to her with my son and daughter, to which they adamantly refused. I'm going to respect their wishes and give them their own time to cope. I have this nagging feeling that she does not actually care about how it made any of us feel, and that she only cares about the fact that she's about to lose her picture-perfect family and the comfortable life that we had, and that it's her fault. I have no desire to try to fix the relationship and move forward. That's all for now. She doesn't regret cheating on him. She regrets getting caught. She's crying because she's going to lose her security and comfort. And the second update. It's been a long while, so I figured I'd give you guys one last update. My daughter is doing a lot better. Our relationship seems to actually have gotten stronger since this whole thing, and it's not even an act. We hang out more and have a lot of heart-to-heart talks. She went to her mother's parents' house to see her mother. From what I heard, she mostly just talked to her grandparents and didn't say much to her mom. My son is also doing fine. His experience is different from daughter's because he actually is my child. He's still angry at his mom for betraying me, but he's coming around and talked to her more when they went to visit her. He's still hesitant because he's a protective little brother and hates that his sis felt awful. I actually give him credit for keeping her sane. He talked to her, went on walks with her, and he didn't give up on her. I told him I was proud of him for sticking by her side. I also talked to him about how he feels because I realized that during all of this, I kind of dismissed him since he was my bio child. But he's going through his stuff too, and we have many talks now, and he's in individual counseling. As for my wife, I tried to do marriage counseling to see if there was any hope. I tried to believe her that it was the only affair and that she didn't know she was carrying his child, but it didn't work out. I couldn't look at her or speak to her in marriage counseling, and when I did say something, it was just about how bad it made me feel. She would sob and beg on her knees, but it didn't change anything. I couldn't believe that she'd never cheated again, and I believe she knew it wasn't my child, but just chose me because I was the safest bet. I'd been played like a fool, and I'm done with it. I served her at her parents' house, and she flew into hysterics. She screamed at the top of her lungs on the ground. I couldn't understand a word she was saying, but I just felt numb to it. Her mother tried to beg me to forgive her, but her father just walked me out to the front and without saying a word, gave me a firm handshake and nod with a face that said, I understand completely. We got into contact with my daughter's bio dad and got his medical info. She said she doesn't want anything to do with him because she already has a dad. I'm not going to try to talk her out of it either, though I have a fear that she'll want to contact him one day and become very close with him and that I'll fade out. But I try to push that to the back of my mind and only let it out during individual counseling. That's where we are now. Me and the kids are trying our best to push through. This will most likely be the last update unless something big happens, which I doubt. Thank you to everyone who helped me and checked up on me. I really appreciate all the help and advice. Glad OP didn't cave into her drama and is moving forward with the divorce. His father-in-law is a real man and understands his situation. I'm glad in the end the cheater got her karma. The truth always comes out in the end. And that's it for today. Viewers, make sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.